And I would say at least 40% of them were asleep. I don't blame them. I wasn't that excited. But anyway, so I hope to entertain you a little bit more and hope you're a slightly more friendly audience. So I wanted to talk to you about a few things tonight that might interest particularly the students in the audience. One of the things is higher education. You're probably all thinking about college now. I think probably they start thinking about it in 3rd grade now. My parents actually started thinking about it when I was 2, so I'm ahead of them in that sense. And the other thing I wanted to talk about maybe a little bit was being a writer, in case any of you are interested in pursuing that line of work. Sort of gotten a reputation these days for something that you can't make a very good living at, something that your parents will laugh when you tell them you want to be. But I can tell you it's possible to make a living, so I'll talk a little bit about that. And the last thing I want to talk about is sort of the subjects of actually both of my books, higher education, and sort of talk to you about some of my travels around the country and just some sort of general observations about what I found as a journalist. So to give you a little bit of background about me, when I came to Worcester Academy, I did not write at all, at least for the newspaper. I had no idea that this was something I was interested in. I wrote for the literary magazine, not very well in retrospect, but they published it anyway, which was nice of them. I didn't write for the newspaper. I didn't think journalism was something I had any interest in. I went off for my freshman year of college at Middlebury, and I assume it's the same today, but back then I think everyone was looking for a college. They were looking for sort of their soulmate, you know, the college that they were destined to go to, and everybody got deeply attached to that school that they applied to, and they would wear the sweatshirt around and rarely wash the sweatshirt. And it was, it was kind of this thing, like you were meant for this school. And so I was convinced that I was meant for Middlebury College, and I got an early decision, and I wore the sweatshirt and washed it occasionally. And I got to Middlebury, and it turns out I actually didn't want to be in the middle of nowhere in Vermont. And then I didn't actually love snow as much as one might think. So I decided to transfer shortly after that. But it's something that when I talk to kids who are beginning the college process, I like to remind them that there is always the option to transfer if they don't like their first choice. And picking a college isn't really like finding your soulmate. There are probably a lot of people who don't get married because they can't find their soulmate. So I advise you, even if you can't find your soulmate in terms of a college, you should still go. But there is the option to transfer. So after my freshman year, I transferred to Harvard. And on a whim, I decided to go work for a political newspaper on campus called the Harvard Salient. And it turns out that I very much like spouting my opinions about things. I didn't have any background in reporting, and no one at the newspaper actually asked me to do any, so it worked out very well. I basically sort of wrote first-person accounts of what I saw around campus. I would dislike some campus policy or some national piece of political news, and I'd want to offer my opinion, and a couple of hours later, 1,000 words would appear on my screen, and I would send it off to the editor, and everything was fine. So I went through college like this. I majored in English and government, and I was offered a fellowship after college to go